Well, then, a question. Your spiritual you isn't confined to the material body, is it? When you say I, where do you point? To a head, a chest? No, no. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. If this is so, who is trying to meet whom? You cannot meet what you already are, and so the chase for the higher self becomes like a man searching the house with a lantern to find the very light by which he searches. I speak respectfully, because I know the hunger beneath the phrase. Higher self, yes, but let us be honest about what higher means. It is not altitude, not a distant entity perched on some interior mountaintop waiting to be invoked with special words. Higher means God realized as the I of you. The kingdom of God is within you. I and my Father are one. When that oneness is consciously known, the so-called higher is not above you. It is your very identity revealed. It is not a meeting. It is a remembering. Someone wrote this week, I hope to encounter my higher self in vision. And I answered quietly, do not seek a person. Seek God. Be still and know. The Christ is not a stranger you must convince. It is the presence standing at the door of your own awareness knocking. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. What opens that door is not a technique to summon a superior version of you. What opens it is reverence. Thou shalt have no other gods but one, and love thy neighbor as thyself. For when there is only one God in your worship and only one self in your regard, you will discover that the I you utter is holy. Now, let us ask, is the higher self separate or the revealed presence within? If separate, then you must run and reach and wait for a visitation. If revealed, then you must be still. You must let the waves settle until the water clears, and you can see that you were never two. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. That sentence is not theology to recite. It is the description of identity. In that oneness, I do not become better. I become transparent. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. Therefore, begin here. Higher is a word for holiness, and holiness is not far. It is nearer than breath, nearer than thought. It is the I that says I in you when you stop trying to have a second self. Whisper it, and let it whisper you. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it once, then let it say you. And as grace utters I, you will know you never had to meet your higher self. You only had to stop meeting what you were never meant to be, an isolated creature, and let the one reveal itself as your very I. When you say I, where do you place it? Are you behind the eyes, looking out through two small windows? Are you in the chest where the heartbeat is felt? Are you in the brain's folds, like a tenant hiding in an attic? No, no. If I were behind the eyes and the eyes failed, would I cease? If I were in the chest and the heart were repaired, would the surgeon mend me? If a physician opens the skull, can he lift out the thinker of the thought? No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. The I that knows, that loves, that prays, that forgives is not a location, not a lump, not a nerve. I am not in the physical. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Consider it quietly. If you say, I am in this room, and then you go to another room and say, I am here, did the I travel? Or did the body move while I remained the same boundless awareness, calling itself here wherever it is conscious of being? If you close your eyes and let the world fall silent, are you inside the head, or is the head inside the field of your knowing? If you lose a tooth, do you lose identity? If you lose a memory, do you lose I? No. The I never becomes less I by any subtraction to the body. For in him we live and move and have our being. And the hymn is not a street address. The hymn is presence. The hymn is I am. If the I is spirit, then higher cannot be a staircase. If the I is not a prisoner of altitude, there is no up to climb to meet a holier version of a divided self. Remove the ladder, take it away. The kingdom of God is within you. I and my Father are one. When that dawns, you will laugh at your old maps that tried to pin I to a place. You will see that higher is not distance. Higher is clarity. It is the veil thinning, not the person rising. It is not addition to a private me. It is revelation of the only I there is. So, what is our aim? Not motion, not migration, not a positional shift of a personal self, but conscious union. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and let the habit of locating yourself in flesh dissolve. Be still until the notion of inside and outside loosens its grip, and you can announce with authority, I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. And in that announcement, something pure, something without edges, says, I in you. Then, without climbing, you find yourself where you have never left, at home in God, and God at home as you. In that awareness, my conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. I do not stretch myself across miles to touch you. The one life that names itself I is already our mutual life. No technique can add to it. No distance can subtract from it. Our part is surrender, receptivity, obedience to the truth of identity. And as we rest there, the old question, where am I, becomes praise. I am where thou art, and where thou art is holy ground. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. What, then, is this word higher when the I is not a climber and God is not a summit? Higher is a figure of speech for a moment of seeing, a clearing of the lens, a purity of listening. Higher is not a second self standing above you with superior opinions. No, no. Higher is the hush in which the only self is revealed as I. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. When that is known, not believed, not recited, but known, the world is the same world, yet it is bathed in a different light. The mountain is no nearer the sun after the mist lifts, and yet the sun floods it, so it is with you. The I and the Father were never two. The mist lifts, and the radiance is obvious. I and my Father are one, here, now, not as aspiration, not as a ladder to climb, but as the fact shining through the clearing. You will feel the difference, not as excitement, but as a soft authority. It is like the moment a chord comes into tune and the dissonance ceases to demand attention. I call it the click, not because something snaps into place in a mechanism, but because will yields, demand falls away, and presence is permitted to be itself as your awareness. A quiet certainty dawns. I do not have to think my way to God. God announces himself as the very I of my knowing. Be still and know that I am God. In that stillness, the knowing arrives of itself, and with it, the gentle, unforced gifts of guidance, of harmony, of healing, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. Notice what does not happen. There is no personal self-acquiring altitude, no private entity endowed with spiritual leverage to move pieces on the board. There is no voice that says, now I will use this power to get, to fix, to rule. Never. When the click comes, manipulation cannot stand. You discover that the only movement is God's grace fulfilling its own nature, and you are at rest as its transparency. Then Choices present themselves without conflict. Doors open because there is no one pushing. The sick are comforted because love is loving, not because a mind is engineering outcomes. In him we live and move and have our being, and him is not elsewhere. Him is the I that now knows itself as all. Therefore, clarify your language and your expectation. Do not say, I will meet my higher self as if you were two. Say, Father, reveal thyself as my I. Say, Christ within, be my awareness. And then be still. Higher is clarity. Higher is purity. Higher is receptivity. When receptivity is pure, the click is certain, and with it the effortless issue of life, light in decisions, peace in relations, sufficiency in needs, because the doer of the work is God. So we return again to the only true affirmation, not as hope but as realized fact. I and my Father are one. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And we rest there until the hush speaks, I, and the I that speaks is God. Now let us be simple and exact, because holiness loves order and gentleness. Choose a chair, not for occult reasons, not for magic posture, but for comfort. It will be a chair low enough that the back can relax without arching, the feet planted quietly on the floor, the knees easy, never strain, never tighten, never perch on the edge as if readiness could hurry God. Let the hands rest lightly, palms down or up, but never braced, never gripping, never posed. Keep the arms relaxed so that circulation and attention are not called there. Close the eyes, not for mystery, only for relief from the stream of sights. In this position, with my eyes closed, I am virtually unaware of having a body. That is all we seek from posture, to remove the body from thought until it fades from notice. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. Now the breath. Do not count it. Do not shape it. Do not make a technique of life. Let it come and go of itself as it has since infancy. If a sigh arises, let it be. If stillness takes the breath to a whisper, fear not, never strain, never visualize, never project. We are not sending thoughts across miles. We are not making pictures to get things. We are withdrawing attention from the creature so that Creator may announce himself as I. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. The door we shut is demand. Desireless waiting is the key. In this room there is no shopping list for God, no bargaining, no asking for signs, no inventory of troubles to be mended. Only this: Father, reveal thyself. Father, be the light of my knowing. If words help gather the heart, use the password we have been given. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it softly once, twice, perhaps thrice, not to convince God, but to remind the mind to be still. Then let even the words fall silent. Be still and know that I am God. What follows is waiting without will. I wait in a state of receptivity until finally, and it may be soon or it may be later, the click comes. Do not watch the clock. Do not measure success. Do not judge a silence by fireworks or warmth or any sensation. The click is not sensation, it is recognition. It is the ceasing of the personal will to think its way to God, and the dawning that God announces God is the very I of your awareness, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. If thoughts wander, let them pass as clouds. Do not fight them, that is more thought. Return with a whisper, Father, reveal thyself, or with the refrain, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And then again, release the words. In a few minutes or many, When the body has been dismissed from attention and the will has laid down its labor, something simple, authoritative, tender will be present as presence. Do not seize it. Do not analyze it. Rest. And if on this day the click is clear, give thanks. If it is not felt, give thanks still, because obedience to silence is itself obedience to law. Practice morning and evening, and in the midst of a day before a decision or after a hurt, not to use power, but to refuse personal power. Higher is not altitude, it is consent. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Here, in the chair, with feet quiet, with breath unmanaged, with mind undemanding, we discover the physics of spirit. As soon as there is nothing to get, grace gives. As soon as there is no doer, the work is done. I and my Father are one. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And I rest until that sentence is no longer mine speaking to God, but God speaking as the I that I am. Now a word in love, and let it be heard quietly, because it saves pain. Do not ever tamper with a cosmic law, for it is a double-edged sword. You do not use a law. You align with it, and it uses you for God's purpose. Violate 2 times 2 equals 4, and you do not anger a mathematician. You simply incur the correction of mathematics. Step on the accelerator and run a red light, and you do not punish the city. You meet the law you ignored, perhaps in steel and glass. It is the same with spiritual law. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Cosmic law serves only God's will. Attempt to bend it to a private will, and it will bend you back to obedience. This is why I have studiously avoided mental and physical contacts. I have not laid on hands, nor have I projected thoughts across miles. I did not consciously project myself, and I hope you will never try to do it. Why? Because the moment you aim thought at a person to bring about your result, even to heal, you have set up another God before the one. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. The mind becomes an idol factory when it imagines it can push spirit around. No, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. Affirmations to get, techniques to control, projections to heal, these boomerang on the user. They seem innocent. A string of words for money, a picture to bring back a loved one, a mental push to fix a body. But the law is impersonal. If you sow manipulation, you reap bondage. If you sow fear, you reap fear. If you sow self-will covered with spiritual language, you reap the taste of your own will. When the foundation of a building is altered to suit a decorator's whim, the physics of the structure does not debate, it corrects. Whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be like a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. The rain descends, the flood reveals the truth. I never give human advice. Let the Father within do all the blessing. If you come asking, shall I move, shall I marry, shall I invest? I remain silent until the click comes, and sometimes it does not come, and I remain silent still. Why? Because human advice entangles the giver and the receiver in personal law, and love will not bind. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, the guidance is God's guidance to itself, and it carries its own authority and harmony without my meddling. Can you use gravity to float a roof sideways? No. Can you use spirit to steal, to coerce, to decorate a personal plan? No, not a bit. You may mouth holy words while worshiping your project, but you will meet the law you ignored: inner agitation, outer complication, the quiet resistance of life to being managed. Better to kneel within and say, Father, reveal thyself. Better to seal the heart with the only safe password. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, not grabbed. Given, not gotten. When the purpose is God's purpose, the law carries you. When the purpose is personal, the law corrects you. Choose the one and be free. I keep a drawer of letters, not as trophies, but as witnesses that God does God's work when human will is quiet. They come from towns and seas I have never visited, from hospital cots and lonely kitchens, and they say one thing in many words. At the moment you turn to God, something turned in us. I do not read them to increase a reputation. No, but to remind the mind that our ministry is not a projection of thought. It is presence knowing itself where it appears to be needed. He sent his word and healed them. The word is not a sentence I form. The word is God announcing God within the field of awareness called I. One such letter came from a woman in Norway. She wrote, at 2:17 inches the morning, the hemorrhage stopped. A quiet came into the room, and the fear left as if it had never been. Later, looking at my notes, I saw that at 2:15 I had taken my chair and said only, Father, reveal thyself, and then rested until the click came. No visualization, no reaching, not even her name in mind, only that hush in which I and my Father are one is not a doctrine but a fact. 2 minutes, not my 2 minutes, God's timelessness touching time. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. There is no distance in that sentence. There is only God being God, where a world believes there is a gap. Another time, a mother wrote from Buenos Aires about a child in fever. She said, when the telephone could not reach you, we prayed. At that hour, the heat left him, and he slept. At that very hour, I had been tempted to answer other calls, but I closed the door, sat, and let the breath be breath, absent from the body, present with the Lord. No syllable sent, no mental push, only the surrender that yields to the doer, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. And the report came as it so often does. The fear dissolved, the body followed. Speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. It is the word speaking itself, not a personality dispatching power. There are also the small notes, not about sickness, but about peace. I forgave him without trying. The contract resolved itself without lawyers. The night no longer terrifies me. All this without a technique, without a method, only the click, and then harmony appeared as naturally as dawn appears when clouds move on. During seasons when this work is continuous, my own frame changes its habits. I sleep less, sometimes 3 or 4 hours, and wake restored. I eat lightly because heavy foods seem foreign to the atmosphere of spirit. I give no rule. I set no diet. It is not law. It is overflow. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God. When the word is bread, appetite arranges itself. So let it be understood. I do not claim a healing. I do not sign my name to a miracle. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument, and sometimes not even that, merely the transparency through which the light passes. When God acts through conscious oneness, effects unfold of themselves without manipulation, without distance, without personal claim. Therefore, we make our dwelling in the quiet, we wait without demand, we listen for the click, and we seal our readiness with the only safe password, Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And then we step aside and we watch love, love. Now a word about bread, and let it be said with the same hush in which pain yielded and fear dissolved. Seek not things, seek God, and things appear in rightful order. It is not poetry, it is law. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, not demanded. Given, not gotten. We do not go to God with a shopping list and call it prayer. No, no. We go to God because God is God, and in that oneness, we discover that life has already arranged itself around the will of love. What is the formula? Not arithmetic, but identity. In my oneness with God, I find completeness. In my oneness with God, I find security. In my oneness with God, I find peace. In my oneness with God, I find joy. In my oneness with God, I find fulfillment. Do not race through those words. Let them say themselves in you until they are not promises but present fact. For all that the Father hath is mine, and if it is mine by sonship, then hear it as a present flow. All that the Father hath is flowing right up through here now, not later, not when a manifestation technique succeeds, not when a vision board is crowded with pictures. Now, as presence being itself where you are, contrast this with the popular traffic of manifestation. It is acquisition by pressure. It is the personal mind bargaining with the universe, pushing images, counting affirmations, straining to move the scales, and what comes? A brief gain and a longer hunger, a thing added on the outside with a fear attached on the inside. Manna is otherwise. Give us this day our daily bread. In the wilderness they gathered enough for the day. When they tried to hoard, it spoiled. Manna speaks of sufficiency, not stash, of source, not stash house, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. God is the actor, I am merely the instrument. When identity is realized, supply is overflow. When self-will governs, scarcity hovers, even in full barns. You ask, how then shall rent be paid, work be found, a table spread? First, close the door, take the chair, withdraw the demand, enter the closet and say, only, Father, reveal thyself. Wait until the click, and then be about your day without the burden of engineering outcomes. Watch what follows when desire has been purified to the desire for God alone. A letter arrives that adjusts the account. A conversation opens a door that no resume could pry. The work that is yours, not someone else's, presents itself with a peace that has no push in it. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Needs met, doors opened, right work found without bargaining or pressure because the government is upon his shoulder. I do not say, sit and be idle. I say, sit until will is idle. Then act as one, carried. Move where peace moves, speak where the word speaks, and decline to hasten where agitation pretends to be urgency. Remember, the law adds, we do not grab. The Father's wealth is not coin alone. It is wisdom to choose, patience to wait, courage to say no, grace to forgive the debt, and find the larger wealth of freedom. Take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink. Take thought for this, conscious union. So we seal it not with a plan, but with a password that unlocks the plan already written in God. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it until the fear of lack has no perch. Say it until the I who says it is the I am saying itself, and then stand still and see all that the Father hath is flowing right up through here now. In my oneness with God, I find completeness, security, peace, joy, fulfillment. This is not manifestation, it is manna. It is life as overflow, and you as the transparency through which love feeds its own. Now hear this, in the same hush with which manna appears. The commandment is not a sentiment, it is law. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Not optional, not seasonal, impersonal, universal, exact. You do not keep it to win a medal. You keep it because it is the physics of spirit. Where there is one God acknowledged, there is one self recognized, and harmony follows as safety follows. Respect for a traffic light, break it, and no judge need appear. The law executes itself. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Do not imagine this law is provincial. Long before our hour, in deserts and valleys, monasteries and marketplaces, the same truth spoke in many tongues. As you would that others do to you, do likewise. What is hateful to you, do not to your fellow. The self in me is the self in you. Different syllables, one principle. Truth is not parochial. Like gravity, it holds equally on every shore. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, whether the name spoken is Father, Tao, or Atman. When the one is honored, the many stand in rightful relation. When the one is ignored, the many collide. Consider the consequences as you would in any craft. You violate 2 times 2 equals 4, and you do not offend the mathematician. You invite the correction of mathematics. Build without a foundation, and the house does not negotiate. It falls. Strip the hills for gain. Ignore forestry, and you reap drought and flood where springs once sang. Run a red light because you are late, and steel and glass will preach you a sermon. It is the same with spiritual law. Set up another god fear. Money, personality, technique, and inner drought appears. Outer confusion follows. Leave the foundation of love, and relations crack at their seams. No. No. There is no escape clause. So self will reap its harvest. So God alone reap God's government. What then is ethics but alignment? When I want nothing you have, and you want nothing I have, there is no war. There is only cooperation. There is only the commerce of grace, the free exchange of gifts that are not possessed but expressed. In my oneness with God, I find completeness. Therefore, I do not need your portion. In your oneness with God, you find security. Therefore, you do not fear my freedom. The wall comes down without a treaty, because the idol of lack has been removed, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. Carry this into your day as you would respect a bridge's weight limit. Do not test the law to see if you can get away with it. You cannot. Keep the one God in worship, and love your neighbor as your own self, and watch order return accounts, balancing without scheming, marriages breathing without manipulation, nations softening where pride once ruled. Obedience is rest, not effort. So we seal the heart with the only safe password, not as charm, but as compliance with principle. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And we walk quietly, absent from the body, present with the Lord, under a law that keeps itself when we cease trying to keep anything for ourselves. Community is not a field for management, it is a field for revelation. We do not fix people, we do not take up tools and reshape lives to our plan. No, no. We behold God where they appear to be, and let grace do what grace does. Judge not, that ye be not judged. It is not our office to apportion blame or to assign curriculum to our neighbor. Our only ministry is realized. Presence, this inner hush, in which I and my Father are one, ceases to be theology and becomes the atmosphere of a room, a table, a city. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. Therefore, we refuse psychic traffic. No projecting thoughts. No mental pushing. Never. I have studiously avoided mental and physical contacts for this reason. The moment you aim a thought to make a person different, you have erected another god before the one and turned the neighbor into a project. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Even a helpful projection entangles both in bondage. So we enter the closet and shut the door on meddling. Be still and know that I am God. If there is to be change, let it be the Father's word rising within their own awareness, not my will leaning on their soul. Forgiveness is the rhythm that keeps the channel free. I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7, for neighbor and for self. You cannot bless the street while retaining accounts in the heart. Release the ancient quarrel. Cancel the old debt, their debt, your debt, and the flow resumes. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. When you forgive, you are not excusing sin. You are ceasing to worship it. The clenched hand opens and manna falls again. And do not forget yourself in this. You have as much right to forgive yourself 70 times 7 as you have to forgive your neighbor. Only then can the prayer pass through you without snag. Presence is ministry. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Carry that into the office, the shop, the kitchen, the meeting. Say nothing if nothing is given. Make no speeches. Sit quietly within your own chair, eyes open or eyes closed, and let the click come absent from the body, present with the Lord. Then watch the tone of the room soften without a word. The quarrel cools. The hardened face loosens. The solution appears from an angle no one argued for, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. That is blessing. That is ministry without interference. This non-interference is not indifference. It is the highest form of love. It leaves each one free in God. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Homes breathe when no one is trying to take or to rule. Workplaces find order when each seeks God's purpose instead of position. Nations soften when policy is not a weapon but an instrument of mutual good. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Peacemakers are not manipulators, they are transparencies. The peace they bring is not negotiated, it is revealed. So we go out quietly, declined from meddling, inclined to presence. If a need is reported, we do not rush to fix. We turn within until the click comes, and then we act if given to act, or we keep still if silence is the command. We never use a person for our righteousness, never use a law for our plan. We bless by being available to the one who alone knows what blessing is. And we seal our day, our street, our world with the only safe password, not as charm, but as alignment with principle. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. In that sufficiency, we meet our neighbor as our own self and leave God free to be God in all. So let us seal this, not in sentiment, but in rhythm. Morning, before the day puts on its garments, close the door, sit in the chair, remove the body from thought, and knock without a list. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. 5 minutes will do when 5 are given, 2 will do when 2 are given. Midday, when the pressure rises or the eyes grow hot, slip within for a minute. No speeches, no demands, only Father, reveal thyself. And then the hush. Evening, before the lights go out, return once more, not to review, not to regret, but to rest the will in God. Short, desireless sittings, morning, midday, evening, like setting a compass true. Each time use the refrain as you would a key, softly, reverently, not to get, but to open. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Repeat until the sentence quiets itself, then rest. Do not try to make the click. Wait, and sometimes swiftly, sometimes slowly, the click comes and the government is again upon his shoulder. Carry an identity seal with you as others carry a passport, and let it be spoken within, not shouted without. I and my Father are one. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. I live, yet not I. God lives himself as me. Let that be the tone under your footsteps, the atmosphere around your speech. When the old fear asks, who will handle this? Answer, within, all that the Father hath is flowing right up through here now, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit. And the hands will find their work emptied of strain. The heart will find its rest while moving. Keep the guardrails strong, for love protects its own. Give no human advice. Let the Father within bless. Offer no technique to get. Decline all occult toys. Never project thought to move a person or a thing. No, no. Seek God alone. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sow oneness, reap harmony. Test nothing, tempt nothing. Align, and the law keeps itself. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Now go graciously with this hush into your action. Do the next right thing as the click gives it, without strain, without hurry. If there is no click, keep still a moment longer, and then proceed gently with honesty and kindness, never with push. Pray without ceasing does not mean words without ceasing. It means living under the quiet of realized presence. A traffic light, a meeting, a sink of dishes, each is a chapel, when the password is living in you. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. This is the mandate and the mantra. Seek God alone. Sit in silence, without demand. Receive the click of oneness, and move as one carried. Morning, midday, evening, knock, and it is opened. I and my Father are one. I am not in the physical. I live, yet not I. God lives himself as me. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Let this be the breath between your words, the rest between your tasks, until every hour is presence, being itself where you are. And so it is. And I thank you